Good morning, Bible readers. Um, just a quick word on I'm sitting here on a rainy Sunday morning reading the Bible, and the thought occurred to me that if any of you are into reading and understanding the Bible, is you have to put yourself in a first century thought pattern. Back in the first century, this was in the world of Rome, over in the area of Palestine, where Israel is. And remember, like an imperial power, Rome was the power, very fierce, very dominating, and uh, and that's what all of the Bible is about. Is really how the church, the Christian church, evolved out of the Hebrew roots in this background of the Roman Empire, and uh, the New Testament is nothing but a collection of letters that were circulating around in the early church. And if you recall, Paul wrote most of the letters. He was the first one to start writing letters of the Bible. His were the very earliest, and it's funny because he was the largest persecutor of Christians, and he became a majority writer of the New Testament. And again, there were letters circulating around the early church. Paul was circulating letters to the churches of the Gentiles, which he had seeded and founded. And and then there was a area in Asia, the seven churches in Asia, primarily Turkey. There was a route where they circulated letters there. And who was in charge of the churches in Turkey? No one less than the Apostle John. That was his area of responsibility. Peter was over east of that, where there was an equally large Jewish population from back in the dispersion, and Peter was there. Although we are told that eventually Peter came back to Rome and was crucified in Rome. Um, Whatever the case, the Apostle John, his last letter, okay, that's called the revelation of Jesus Christ, the revealing of Jesus. That was supposedly written by John. And the church fathers, when they were developing the canon of the Bible, remember the Bible is nothing but a library of 66 books by various authors all through 1500 years of Jewish history. You had kings writing portions of it, like King David wrote a lot of the Psalms, and you had dirt poor farmer prophets, like the minor prophets, who wrote their psalms or and their testimonies and their letters. So when you come to the Apostle John and the revelation of Jesus Christ, the Apostle John wrote it in a like a over 100-year-old archaic Hebrew writing style. Um, in language, you'll recognize it comes from directly from the Old Testament. The the moon will turn to blood, the skies will turn black and roll up like a skull, the stars will fall to the earth. All of this is apocalyptic language, figurative speech that's all riddled through Revelation. Now, why did John do this? A Dr. Ken Gentry pointed this and taught me as I was reading his book and videos that back in those days, if you were caught as a Christian, they'd put your lights out. You would die for just admitting you're a Christian. That's how the way Rome was, and also and a lot of the other um, Jewish elite did not like the Christians, and you could be put to death. So when these letters were put out, John wrote the Revelation in an old archaic style. So that way, if it was ever discovered by Romans or the Greek reading people, they would not understand what they were reading. Okay. They were in a code, so to speak, an old archaic writing style. And what it was meant to get the message across to the people in the churches, but yet not giving them away as to what the book or the letters were about. So that's why there's a little study that you need to do as far as like how to understand this Jewish apocalyptic language, and that's way Revelation will make sense. I've heard and watched videos and videos of people with bizarre explanations, and clearly they do not understand Jewish apocalyptic language, and they're out there teaching as if they know, and they clearly do not. Um, I found it best to actually get with people that come from a Hebrew background. They understand it, they kind of know what's going on, and you discern. And this is where you ask for the guidance of the Holy Spirit to guide you into the understanding of this book. And why it was circulating in the early church was to let people know that when you see, as Luke put it, when you see the army surrounding Jerusalem, it's time to head for the hills, get out to the mountains. And that's what the Christians were instructed to do, is that when they see that garrison of soldiers and enemies surrounding Jerusalem, get out of town. And if you, I'm not sure if you know history, but in 70 AD, the Romans gathered around Jerusalem and trapped everybody inside because it was the Passover celebration. A lot, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Jewish people came to Jerusalem for the Passover feast, which is every annual celebration. And the Passover feast, and the Romans surrounded the town, and through a game of attrition, finally breached the walls and killed everybody. Um, it was said by Josephus, the historian, that 1.1 million people died in a matter of hours in Jerusalem. They were slaughtered and they destroyed the temple. And the few people that were left were taken back captive to Rome for their celebration through the Arc de Triomphe. So, or their uh, whatever they have. The Arc de Triomphe was in France, but I mean, they had a an Arch of Triumph in Rome, and that was their custom. When they would come back from a victorious battle, they would parade the prisoners through that arch and have a big celebration. So, anyway, now you get a little background as to what these letters are in the Bible. And if you want to understand it a little bit better, just do a little internet search into Jewish apocalyptic language. You'll see it in all the Old Testament, and it's very simply just reinstated by John in the New Testament. Although this language was already hundreds of years old, the Jewish people of the time, the Jewish Christians, they understood it. So, hope this helps you. And meanwhile, have a peaceful day. Shalom, peace, and thank you.